Hey guys, it's Jessica. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a flip through of the first 6 months of my reading journal for 2025. This is my first year with a reading journal, so we're going to be going through this from the beginning, 6 months of monthly entries, and I'm going to be talking about the things that worked for me, the things that didn't work for me, and then at the end of the year, we're going to kind of reassess and see what my determination has been about what is working for me in a reading journal. So if you are new to reading journals, as I am, stick around. See if you can get any tips from my experiences. It has been an amazingly fun journey, but also sometimes pretty challenging, as you'll see. So let's just go ahead and get started. This journal, I'm actually really happy with the quality of this journal. I bought it from Amazon. The brand is, I don't know how you say that, Sikez maybe? I don't know. It's a pretty sturdy journal, nice linen cover. Been really happy with that. So you can see from the side view that I have filled about half the pages, and it's a little bit thick, but not crazy thick. So starting at the beginning, this is all just the same as it was in my original flip through. I have an image from Blood Over Brighthaven from a card I got over here, and then my title page. So happy with how that turned out. Love it every time I get to open it and see it again. Then turning the page, we have my index, which I must confess to you, I have never once looked at. I have not been keeping it up. I don't know what page my months start on, but perhaps I will go back and fix that. We will see. And let's go ahead and look at my goals. So my goals are to read 100 books, and I'm doing well on that, as you'll see when we go forward. Finish your DNF 10 series. Read 6 nonfiction books. No, I'm doing terrible. Read more lit fic and mysteries. I've read some mysteries, some lit fic. I would say it's more. I think that's a success. Post to booktube 2 times a week. I have done that most weeks, so that one, totally achieving that so far. Vlog 2 times a month. Some months, I don't know. Sometimes I do 2 vlogs, sometimes I do 1. We'll see. And then have fun, which I absolutely have been doing. So let's get into it. Okay, so we turn to the first spread here, and this is my reading goal for the year, kind of a year in pixels kind of spread, if you want to think of it that way. And I have got it arranged by genre. You can see that I forgot to include horror, so I had to add that in, and then I don't know what I had done here on mystery, but I had to paste a piece of paper over top of it to add mystery. And you can see from over here, I've read 65 books so far this year. I am filming this at the very, very beginning of July. So 65 books. So it looks like I am on track to, if I keep reading the same rate, hopefully be able to do that 100 for the year. I've been happy with how this turned out. It's so satisfying to fill in the squares every time I finish a book. The only thing I would say is that I have changed the kind of pens that I use. So I was originally using a Papermate Flare. Let me see if I have one. Yes. So I was originally using a Papermate Flare to make all these little boxes, but I find that no matter what you do, the marker is going to bleed the black, and I don't like that. I have started using these Micron pens since then for a lot of the rest of the journal. These do not bleed. If you're going to be filling in, please use these. Do not use the Papermate Flare for that, because no matter how long you wait, it is going to bleed. Okay, moving on. We've got my bookshelves. Okay, so I printed this out from Etsy. I bought it off of a shop. I will link it down below. I really enjoy filling in the books, but I'm not necessarily happy with my color choices, because you can see down here, my 3 and 4 stars are kind of the same. And most of my books are going to fit in that mid-range, right? Because that's just how you read usually. And I could not tell you which ones are which looking through the shelves. It lacks variety. So I think if I do this again next year, I'm probably going to want to look at using something different for the spines, maybe writing in the names. The problem for me is that I do read a fair amount every year, and I wanted something that would be able to get all the books in, so I didn't want to print it too big, but this lacks a little variety. I'm not quite as satisfied with it as I would like to have been. All right, the next page is my 25 in 2025, and I'm doing really great at this. And you can see that I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of these, no, 14 of these. And then I have 3 books that I've DNF'd. So I've read 17 books out of the 25, and we are only in July. I am so pleased. I have this one, Too Like the Lightning, on my TBR for this month, and I actually just realized I forgot to fill this one in because I read this for June, so even better, but I think most of the ones that are left are still things that I'm pretty excited to read, so hopefully I'm going to be finishing this up before the end of the year, and I love how the spread looks. I think it's just pretty. Okay, let's look at my series tracker. So I can tell you that at the beginning of the year, my series stopped right here with The Wayward Children, and this was the last one that I had. So all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 series that I have started since January this year. And that does not actually include all of the books in a series I've read. There are some that I read one and thought, well, I'm not going to continue that, so I didn't add it in, but I love the way this looks. It's like a little Tetris game or something. I think next year I might make it even more colorful by mixing up the colors and the lines, but I think it looks really cool and I really love it. And here we have our first kind of failure of a spread. And then this one, I was planning to write down all of the library books that I checked out and how much I saved by not buying those books. But it turns out that I read so many library books that this was just going to be cumbersome. So this is not a spread I've been using, and it's probably not one that I'm going to continue in the future, but you never know. I might come back and look at it. Here we have arcs. So I have written all the arcs that I've gotten this year from publishers and whether or not I have actually read and posted a review. I've got one I've got to catch up on back here, and all of these books haven't come out yet. So I am almost completely caught up with those, which I'm very pleased with. And then we have this spread, which is supposed to be kind of writing the first line from all of the books that I read this year. And I think I really underestimated how much space that would take up. I did leave an extra page for it, but I mean, I got to 7 books, including one which just has the first line, sit. And I had already filled 1 page. And I thought, if I read 100 books this year, I did not leave, 12 pages. So I have kind of abandoned that, but I am considering bringing that back in some form to my monthly spreads and writing down not necessarily first lines, but quotes that I have really loved. And we'll get to that when I get to my more recent monthly spreads. And then we've got some extra space that I left for that. Then we have reading challenges. This is my Our Fantasy 2024 bingo card, and I have finished this. I have yet to go back and paste in the covers of the ones that were not completed at the beginning of the year, but I am actually done with this challenge. And I have started the 2025 bingo card. I'm not exactly sure where to put that. The problem with this challenge is it runs April to April, so it doesn't really line up perfectly with a yearly journal that you start in January. So I do have some extra pages, so I may be putting that at the end of this section. And Buzzwordathon, I thought I was going to do it, and then it turned out that every time I make my TBR, I completely forgot to think about it. There's a few months I could fill in here, but I think this one's just going to be maybe I'll go back at the end of the year and see if I can fill it in, but I have not been keeping up with that. Next, we have my A to Z challenge. Very successful. So I have completed the first page entirely, and I'm doing pretty good over here. And I've got some books planned for at least a few of these letters. I think that the challenging one is going to be Z. I think that's going to be the one I'm going to struggle with. I don't think this will be a challenge I do every year because There are only so many books that start with Q, but I think it looks really good and I'm pleased with it. Then we have a couple extra pages here. That is the end of my yearly spreads. And we get into January. So in January, this is a page that I printed out. I created it in Canva, printed it out, pasted it in, and just kind of filled in some color. So here at the beginning, you're going to see that I have really struggled with kind of my own handwriting. I think I'm wanting to improve my handwriting. I'm not somebody who has probably drawn anything since I was in the 7th grade. So I have been challenging myself to get better at drawing, to get better at handwriting and lettering and all those things. So you're going to see a lot of changes happening throughout these months as I've been trying to figure out what works for me, what's sustainable, what serves me in my reading life. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we have a calendar. I printed this out and I filled in, I think, the dates that I wanted to post videos. And I didn't end up, it looks like, tracking all the videos, but I did post on those days. So there's that. Over here we have a TBR card. And you're going to see I do this every single month. I created this TBR card. I love using it. I've kind of evolved how I do it a little bit. I was using the library stamp, which you can see I've got right here to kind of stamp the months, but that's a little cumbersome. So I haven't necessarily continued that. I haven't necessarily loved that, but in general, big fan of this. Looks like I didn't fill in my favorite read or favorite quote. But what I did do here in this first month was really think that I was going to write full page reviews for every single book that I read this year. So you can see I started out here. I gave this book 1 star. I used a quote, and then I wrote a review, and I had done like little stickers for title and author, and then the stars here, that's also a sticker that I printed out. And then moving on, same thing, got a quote over here, same thing. And then we get over here, and this is probably about where I was like, I don't know if I can write this much all the time. I do review all of my books on my channel, obviously, and then also I like to write reviews on Goodreads and Storygraphs. So a lot of the time I've already written a review, and I don't know that I need to replicate that for every book in here. I thought I would really like to, and it sounds romantic to write a review for every single book, but I'm here to tell you that it is okay if you don't have the bandwidth to write a review for every single book. And you're going to see mine get shorter and shorter. So continuing here with my January books, my handwriting gets bigger. I was kind of experimenting here with making it bigger or trying to write kind of every other line. I have struggled with the fact that I have kind of big handwriting, and the dots within a dot grid notebook are kind of on the smaller side. I would like them to be just a little bit bigger, like kind of like a wide ruled notebook size, but trying to adjust. And then I left an extra page, don't know why. And then we have February. So I've got a little vintage Valentine I pasted in, and this cute washi tape that's like little cats with hearts. I love it. And then we have my TBR card. And then over here, you can see I'm kind of continuing the same system that I had in January. I did do 2 blind dates with a book, so I saved the front of the package that the book was wrapped in, and I pasted them in, and I love that. Same thing here with this one. Here's my rating for those 2. They were not the most successful dates, I would say, that I've ever had, but that's all right. And I've got a stamp. And then we get to March, and here's where I thought, you know what? It's ridiculous that you're sitting here going, I can't draw, because you can draw, or at least you can copy things, and you can, I'm not tracing, but I mean, most of this is just like copied off of stuff that I found on Pinterest that I kind of replicated in my journal. And I love this title page. I think it's so pretty. And then over here, same thing. I've got my TBR card. And then here you can see I was like, okay, you're not going to write this much. So I started paring down the amount that I was going to write for each book. I'm also no longer doing the stickers because they were very hard to get off the sticker paper. So this was my first attempt. So just drawing in the stars. And I realized after a while that I'm really bad at drawing stars, but more later. So continuing on with March, got some different colored pens, enjoyed that. I did go on the Indianapolis Indie Book Crawl and saved my card from that, pasted that in here, and some other things just from the crawl. And I'm probably going to add a little bit more to this page. I just have not done that yet. And then we get to April. April, again, trying to challenge myself to do like the simplest of doodles. Really like how this came out. Got my TBR card over here. You can see I'm starting to fill in the bubbles to show what I actually read and what I didn't. And then some shorter reviews. Now, this is about where I started really questioning whether or not I needed to write a review within my journal. It wasn't something I found that I was looking forward to. And just writing something here, I've got a quote from The Raven Scholar, which was a 5-star book for me. You should read it. We Are the Raven. And then I just wrote, loved it so much. And that doesn't really help me. I don't know. It was not serving me. A couple things I forgot to print out here. So I just drew them, kind of. I DNF'd 4 books in that month, and I drew them a little graveyard just for fun. And then we get to May. And in May, I suddenly remembered that I had started the book with a very specific aesthetic and thought I should try to bring some of that back, at least for a couple pages. So I did this title page and then my card. And here I did something very different. I tried in May. The first thing I did was I tried to print out these little lined papers to write a little review in because I thought, well, part of my problem is that I feel like I'm having to write really small. It makes my hands cramp up. So let's try this. But I failed because I don't know if you can tell that the lines are exactly the same size as the dots. I thought they were bigger. They are not. And then I printed out a quote from each book. And I do like the quotes. I think that's nice. I also got some little stamps that I started using for my star ratings, as well as my genre and what format I read it in. That one's kind of hard to see probably, but so some of them I wrote a review, some of them I didn't even bother. I just did the quote, and I'm, honestly fairly happy with that because that's more what I'm going to remember than me writing down 2 lines about my experience with the book. Because some of these books had some really great quotes. And then you can see we get to the end of April, and I did a little page May, to commemorate hitting 1,000 subs on YouTube. Thank you all so much. And then we're going to be in June. And before I turn the page, I want to talk about the way I did my June spreads. I really sat down and I thought, I don't know that my monthly spreads are serving me. Some of it this was closer. This was better. Some of the earlier ones just really felt like I was just checking a box just to say that I wrote something about them. And I didn't feel like that was what I wanted my journal to be for. So I kind of redesigned things a little bit. So let's turn over to June and look at what I did. So first, I am so proud of this. I did different letters. Look at that. I drew some fruit. They're not great, but they're fruit. Again, this is from Pinterest. I did not design this, but I'm very happy. And I tried to keep these colors going kind of throughout. So turning the page, I did do my TBR card, decorated it up a little bit. And then over here, I did something a little bit different. So I drew a calendar in, and then I used these colored highlighters to kind of show where I read each book and where they overlap. There was a lot more overlapping than I realized because in my head I only read one book at a time, but I guess sometimes maybe I put a book down and I'm still reading it while I'm reading something else. So you can see all my books in there. Over here, I did a little YouTube section. I just did subscribers at the beginning of the month, subscribers at the end of the month. And then I listed all of the videos that I was going to release in the month of June. And I did do all those videos. So keeping my goals on track. Very happy with that. And then turning the page. So here is kind of the really different thing where I just decided that what I wanted right now was just a overview, a visual of the books that I read. So I did these very large covers. I actually like that because it's very visual. And I did my stamps. I did my star stamp, filled in how many stars it was. And then I just did my genre stamps. I love the little, I don't know if you can see it, the little funny knife that I'm using for horror. Anyway, so I've got that page and then another page, including a couple DNFs. But yeah, I think that was not too much work. And I can add to that, but I don't have to feel like there's a pressure that I have to write a novel about each book, especially when I'm already reviewing everything so many times. And then I did these, and I did some stats, which I haven't done in the other months, and I really, really loved it. So I did some pie charts, and I do keep a spreadsheet, so it was easy for me to do these. I just looked at my spreadsheet and pulled off the things that I thought were interesting for this month. So I did genre, the source where I got the book from, which I want to make sure that I'm always using my library plenty, which I am, and then format, ebook, physical. And this month I decided to track author gender because I want to make sure that I'm read a lot of fantasy and I want to make sure I'm reading female and male authors and non-binary authors and just kind of getting a balance of viewpoints. So that's good. And then my June statistics, I read 11 books, 2 DNFs, pages read 4,482, words read. That's a lot. 1,465,000. That's what it said. My average rating is a 4, and there were 2 books that made me cry. And so that's the end of my June books. So one thing I might do in the future with this kind of layout is add a section, as I said, where I can talk about my quotes that I liked or first lines, or maybe do some like, this was my favorite and least favorite of the month. But I think this is less pressure on me because if I dread it, I won't do it. And that is not my goal. My goal is to make this sustainable, to help it serve my reading life, and have it be something that I can look back at and just kind of see how I did. And yeah, so I'm honestly, for my first year, I am so very happy with how this has turned out. And I'm sure that as we go through the next 6 months, I'm going to come up with some more things that I want to add, some things I want to change. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a good addition to my reading life. Thank you so much for watching this video. I would love if you would leave me a comment and let me know if you're interested in starting a reading journal, or if you already have one, let me know how you do your monthly spreads, because that is the thing that has been the most challenging to me throughout this first 6 months. And if you're feeling quiet, go ahead and leave me a book emoji just to let me know that you were here. I hope that you all have a fantastic day. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.